Mailbag time here on the Cleveland Browns Report. Matthew Peterson answering questions during our live show, which aired Tuesday afternoon. First one coming in via Super Chat from Jeremy Rebel. Jeremy asking, barring a trade, Browns should swap tackles. 1, would help protect Deshaun Watson's blind side. 2, assuming Jack Conklin returns next year, Dawand Jones will likely slide to the left anyway. They should get Dawand Jones comfortable now. So Jeremy is suggesting having Jed Wills go to right tackle, which he played in college and he was much better at in Alabama at right tackle than he is in Cleveland at left tackle. And then having Dawand Jones go over to left tackle with the assumption that when Conklin returns, that's where Dawand Jones is going to go anyway. And I'm not even sold on that being a fact, that once Conklin returns, Dawand Jones goes to left tackle. All I've heard is the Browns love Dawand Jones at right tackle. Maybe it's Jack Conklin is the one who makes the change. I'm not quite sure, but listen, Jeremy, if you've got an idea for trying to salvage Jed Wills in this offensive line, I'm all ears. We all should be all ears because right now, the current starting 5 is just not working. And it's not because of anyone outside of Wyatt Teller, Joel Petonio, or it's not because, what I'm trying to say is it's all Jed Wills' fault. I try to be cutesy with it. No, screw it. It's all Jed Wills' fault right now. So if you've got an idea, I'm all ears. I don't know if this is actually the one that the Browns would ever pull off, just because you don't really want to mess with Dawand Jones, a rookie, too much in year one, going from being a backup swing tackle to starting right tackle after the first quarter and a half of the season, and now moving from right side to left side. You might be making 2 problems for yourself, right? You could have a bad Jed Wills on the right side and a struggling Dawand Jones on the left side. Now you got 2 bad tackles potentially, but I won't shoot down any idea because none of the current options are working. Next question coming in from Cruz. What a cute looking dog. Should the Browns swap DPJ for Jerry Jeudy? Cruz, good question. You definitely have to toss some draft picks in there. No question about that. But the Broncos, as I film right now, are going into Kansas City 1-4, and I'm going to assume they're going to lose to the Chiefs as well. So probably going to be 1-5 when you're watching this. And I could see Denver entering a full fire sale mode, and Jerry Jeudy could come available. I know the Browns are always interested in adding more offensive weapons. That's just something Andrew Berry believes is a successful blueprint for an offense. More. And DPJ and Jerry Jeudy, here are their career stats. 1,800 yards for DPJ in 2 more games compared to 2,500 yards for Jerry Jeudy. But touchdown-wise, they're only 1 touchdown off. So no question that Jeudy is the better receiver of these 2. But I don't know how much of an improvement you're really getting. Jeudy has not had a lot of success so far in Denver this year. And to be honest with you guys, he's never really had a good season start to finish. He's always been inconsistent, whether it was injuries or drops. He's never put together more than a really good 6-game stretch. So for that reason, if it's going to cost you a second-round pick and the Browns already don't have their first, I would pass on this. But let me know, would you trade DPJ and say a third? I wouldn't do it for a second. For a third, I would definitely be interested. But you get Jerry Jeudy for this year and next year because you have his 5th-year option picked up already. However, I think Jeudy is not going to come in here and be the piece that gets Cleveland to the Super Bowl. So for that reason, I would pass on this trade, actually. Next one coming in from Joshua Miller. Put Deshaun Watson on IR and trade for Kirk Cousins since he knows Coach Stefanski's offense. We seem to have no issue taking players from the Vikings. Yeah, I mean, there is like a D.C. to Moscow red phone from Cleveland to Minneapolis between Andrew Berry and Odofa Mensah. But I don't think you would trade for Kirk Cousins just to have him play 4 games. That seems like dramatic overkill. 1, the Vikings probably want a first-round pick for Kirk Cousins. They're not going to get a first-round pick from Cleveland because the Browns don't have a first-round pick. But I'm not giving up a second-round pick, which is the next best thing the Browns could offer, just to have Kirk Cousins play 4 games. And then when Deshaun Watson comes off IR, you gave up a second for 4 games. That seems like a bit much. So I would pass on this, Josh, although it's definitely a creative idea. Mr. Clutch, should we make a blockbuster at wide receiver for a player like Jerry Jeudy or Davante Adams? If I had to pick between one of these 2 guys, I would actually lean towards Davante Adams because I don't think Jerry Jeudy is on a path to be getting traded somewhere and getting a huge second contract for that team. So if you're looking at one receiver for this season alone, it's Davante Adams, no question about it. The only place where Jeudy has Adams beat is the age column, right? The longevity, how much gas he has left in the tank. But if we're not talking about trading for a receiver to have that guy for the next 2, 3, 4 seasons, and we just want to maximize 2023, I would go with Davante Adams. Although I don't think the Raiders are going to trade Adams. I don't think Adams wants to get traded. Jersey Dog, what's going on, dude? How secure are Stefanski and Berry's jobs with the way the season is going? I'm starting to get the belief that Berry and Stefanski are not a package, right? I don't think Haslam, if this season, by the way, let's just say it ends, 8-9, 9-8, and they don't make the playoffs, or they make the playoffs at the 7th seed and they lose immediately. I could see Stefanski getting the boot from that. I don't think Andrew Berry was going to get the boot, right? Unfortunately for Berry and Stefanski, this season got turned on its head when they lost Nick Chubb and Jack Conklin. Those were two of your better players. If you had to rank all 22 of the Browns starters, you lost probably your number 2 or 3 player in Nick Chubb after Myles Garrett or Deshaun Watson, wherever you want to put him. And Jack Conklin's in the top 10 for sure. So that's really tough for a head coach to deal with. I think they're going to give at least Berry another year. Stefanski, that could be a different question. Super chat coming in from Dr. Crew. Personally, I'm about done with Watson. This team depends so much on him to have him sit out. I get the stuff we had with Baker, but he had more heart. I understand, Dr. Crew, where you're coming from in terms of watching Baker go out there and play through a shoulder injury and wanting Deshaun Watson to do the same. But I think there was a more intelligent thought process going on this time around. Because last time it was, let's just roll with Baker and we'll see what happens. This time it's, we did not give up $230 million in all those picks for a 5-year plan to have Watson just completely ruin his shoulder for a 49ers game in week 6. Like, that seems like making too much of a single game. So for that reason, I actually am on the Browns side here of being overly cautious with Deshaun Watson, because at the end of the day, we're talking about the Ravens game, a bye, and the 49ers game. If you can't throw, if you can't play, we saw in 2021 how that worked out from the quarterback position. So I'm going to disagree here, Dr. Crew. I understand we want our players to be warriors and play through injuries and all that stuff. And Deshaun Watson, by the way, he played with a torn ACL in college. Like, let's not act like he has not played through some major stuff. The guy gets hit a ton, okay? And he's no Ben Roethlisberger getting carted off, wheelchaired off, whatever, putting a bazillion ice bags on Monday just to play on Sunday. So it's a look at me, I'm so hurt, but now I'm okay to play. No. Deshaun Watson has played through a ton of injuries. I am not questioning his toughness whatsoever. I think he is making a good decision right now for himself and the Browns. Now, by the way, make sure to subscribe to the channel so we can get you guys more content. If you don't believe me, like Bears Now, for example, with Harrison Graham, they put out sometimes two videos a day. We've got a long ways to go until we can get to that milestone, but every subscriber helps. So let's get to 25,000 subs before the 49ers game. Hit the sub button down below. Next question coming in from Browns fan for life. Concern level for Browns right now. Overall, like, I would say out of 10, I'm at a 5.5. Okay, you're 2-2, which that part doesn't concern me. It's the injuries. It's Deshaun Watson, Joel Bitonio, Nick Chubb, all dealing with injuries where some are lost for the entire season and some we don't know how long they could be out for, if they are out for anything. But if we get some clarity that Bitonio's going to be okay and Watson's going to be okay, I'd go from a 5.5 down to like a 4. But if those two guys are going to be far from 100% the rest of the way, then I think my 5.5 is pretty justified. So for this moment, I'm just over the 50-yard line. I'm at a 5.5. Jessica Devote, I think. Devote? What do you think about trading for a linebacker, Germaine Pratt? I don't think we're going to see the Bengals play ball on trading one of their star players within the division. It's definitely a fun trade idea because the Bengals could be entering a quasi-sell mode. I don't know if you guys saw this, but now that we have 5 games into the season, an updated strength of schedule came out based on how the teams are playing so far this year and the rest of the schedule, whether or not the teams you're playing are good or bad. The Bengals have the hardest schedule in the NFL. So they could be entering a, you know what, let's trade T. Higgins. Let's just call 2023 a wash and get ready for 2024. But I don't think Pratt's coming to Cleveland. All right, before we get to the rest of the questions on today's show, our sportsbook partner, BetUS, has an awesome deal for the Dawg Pound. Go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Browns125. When you use both those pieces of information, you get a 125% deposit bonus. So you got to go use our link, chatsports.com/bet, and you got to use our promo code Browns125. Mark Stevenson, trade for Denver's offensive lineman Garett Bolles. Yeah, Mark, I'm in, dude. I am in. As long as it does not cost you an arm and a leg, if it's a fair trade and it's not some crazy overpay because Denver's got you by the balls knowing Jed Wills sucks, yeah, get Garett Bolles over here, have him play left tackle for the next 2 seasons, have some stability on the offensive line again, and let's roll. Like, I'm in, Mark. Yep. Joshua Miller, trading Josh Dobbs, the preseason prince, nice reference, has been one of Andrew Berry's biggest mistakes. I get that because Deshaun Watson got hurt. If Watson didn't get hurt, it would never have mattered, right? We would never have seen Josh Dobbs play. And that's definitely a gamble you play because about 50% of starting quarterbacks at some point miss at least one game in the modern NFL. So it was definitely a gamble by Andrew Berry. It was a 50-50 chance, red or black, right? And unfortunately, he picked the wrong color, and now we're in a bit of a pickle here. To say it's one of his biggest mistakes, I don't know if I'd go that far because we only got to see one game from Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think we're giving up on DTR a little bit too quickly after he played a really mean and physical Ravens defense with very little game plan devoted to him. And that's more on the coaching staff, but it was still bad for DTR last timeout. Ray Bidding, where is our game changer Elijah Moore? Needs to be at wide receiver more. That's kind of my first thought. Like, I like how Stefanski gets creative at times with him in the backfield. And listen, with no Nick Chubb, you got to try and devise some sort of ground game. But we're not getting enough as Elijah Moore as a receiver, and we're getting too much of him as a scat back running back. So you know what? Let's get Elijah Moore back to wide receiver, and let's have him play his position, and let's stop moving him all over the field. Like, for at least 2 straight quarters, keep it a little simple, stupid. Michael Scott here, and let's have Elijah Moore play wide receiver. But Ray, where is he? He's there. We're only 4 games in. The Cleveland Browns are going to play 17 games this year, right? We are 1 quarter into the season. If this was a game, the Browns would be tied at the end of the first quarter. Who panics at the end of the first quarter because the team is tied 3-3 or 7-7? They're 2-2 right now, right? Would you be freaking out if the Browns were playing any team and they were tied at the end of 1? No. Come on. Settle down. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. All right, that's going to do it for us on our mailbag today. Hit me up on Twitter, by the way, at Matthew Petey. I'm always talking brownies over there. I always appreciate going back and forth with people over on Twitter. So at Matthew Petey if you want to talk more Browns football.